Dr. Chuck the Science Schmuck.
Synchronize. This video is going to be a little weird. Whoa, what am I seeing? Hold on. This video is going to be a little weird for me because the timeline is all over the place. But who doesn't exist in multiple timelines at the same time? Where's the bar? But the timeline is all over the place. Not to you, because I can adjust the timelines for you. So, I live in Syracuse. And if you don't know where that is, it's not the Italian one. You've probably seen it, you've probably noticed, you know where I am. I've told you many times, it doesn't really matter. You can come find me if you want, but I don't look like anything, and I don't live anywhere especially So anyway, stagnant water. I like stagnant water. A lot. Not really. I don't like touching it. I don't like swimming. I don't like touching liquid. Barely tolerate showers, and that's kind of why... oh well. So, I live at basically the intersection of two highways. And an interesting thing about living next to two highways is that that's where the drainage gets weird. I am going to go into the forest. And mind you, this is not an easy forest to get into. The environment here is not great for trying to go into the forest. Not because there's wolves, even though there are wolves. They're not wolves. There's coyotes, red foxes, and there used to be gray foxes. Don't know where the gray foxes went. Haven't seen them in a year. They're like little cat things with glowing eyes, because I wear a light on my head when I go out at night, because I have to go out at night because the sun will incinerate me otherwise. You might notice the sunburn underneath my skin. But I'm going to go to an area where the water has stagnated, and I'm going to throw a bucket into it, and I'm going to get samples. You may be asking yourself, why are you going to get samples? What are you doing in that stagnant water? Get off that private property. And I say, you can't catch me. I've already buttered myself. It defends me against the sun. Why are my tires moldy? I don't think they are, because there's tires in the corner. You can't see it because you're facing me, but there's tires over there, and they're moldy. But I can't actually see it because I don't have my glasses on. What do I want in the water? Well, basically exotic plants and animals. Specifically, I mean, in an ideal world, what I'd like to find is the Yangtze jellyfish. You say, jellyfish, you're in Syracuse, you're nowhere near jellyfish, but I am. Interestingly, the Yangtze jellyfish, which probably has a more complicated name, I'm sure it's a very, very hard to pronounce scientific name. It's a type of freshwater jellyfish that's invasive throughout the world. I'd like to find those. Yes, you did hear that right. Freshwater jellyfish. They're real. It lives in the Yangtze River in China, but it was introduced about 50 years ago. The problem is I can guarantee you I'm not going to find them. Partially because of the disrupted timeline. I already know some things that I probably shouldn't about my own future. But microscopic, tiny little thing, doesn't look like anything. They only develop the jellyfish part certain years during jellyfish blooms, which is a thing in New York. I did not know that until I moved here, but New York, in like stagnant ponds, has jellyfish blooms. This sounds absurd, but it is. It only happens in very hot years. This year has been on-off cold and very wet. You can actually... Oh, great, I just got wet. There's a hole in my shoe. Oh, well. I'm about to get a lot wetter, because what am I going to do? I'm going to go to this pond and see what I...
Now, you may not be able to hear me, what with being at the intersection of two highways, but this here's my establishing shot. As you can see down there, although I don't know if you can see that forest through all those trees, that is an exact intersection of two highways, which is what you hear in the background. There's a highway over there, the other one's directly behind me. I'm standing on the shore of the highway. Somewhere in there is a secret pond, and I'm gonna find it. I haven't managed to locate the secret pond yet, but I did find this. Well, down in the woods. And there's a big old hole with water coming out of it. Now I think if you get close enough, that hole goes clean through to the other side. Question is where the other side is, and that I don't really want to find out right now. Well, here I am. I found my way to the secret pond. It's plenty stagnant, definitely wouldn't want to swim in there. Don't know if I can get back out, so I might be living here now. Took forever I had to come through that hole. So, how am I going to investigate this? Well, that's the gross part. Got myself a bucket on a rope. Go over the wind-up. Bucket's in, pull it back, and then I'll see what I got in there. Alright, I've poured the water into this glass bowl. I don't know if you can see them very well, but there are definitely water bugs in there. Swimming guys. Primary foliage right there is lemna, which is duckweed, which is expected. Oh, there he is. There he goes. Little baby guy down there, but the glare is really bad. Looks like we've got a snail. Interesting things, but not quite what I'm looking for. So these guys will of course get thrown back in, and I'll go for another go. This apparently happened while I was down there in the water next to the highway. A truck fell over on the highway and fell on a guardrail, which explains the really loud noise I heard while I was down there throwing a bucket into the water. From the look of it though, it looks like it just tipped on its side and the driver got out fine, so everyone's safe. After this I noticed that it was full of disrupted timeline and all. Full of metal reels, so it must have been top heavy.
And I'm back, so to speak. So, what did I actually catch? Unfortunately, not the Yangtze jellyfish, because this year is just not the correct environment for it. And really, that pond was a lot smaller and more shallow than I expected. Now, what did I find? A lot of water bugs, which was interesting, but those aren't really something you can keep in an aquarium. I was more interested in plant matter. And I found this. This is actually a lot bigger than it was when I found it because, again, that timeline is really weird for this. So, let me move it to a larger container. This bowl is filled with aquarium water from my aquarium upstairs, so be sure to use the correct type of water. It comes from stagnant water that, according to local legend, never ever freezes because it comes from a airport, and they wash the planes in it. But you'll note that there's this strange looking spiky thing. This. That is very interesting. Why is that interesting? Because that is Rixia fluitans. I mean, this is duckweed. The little guys are duckweed. Interestingly, that is a flowering plant. That's a liverwort. I know, right? Like a wild liverwort, which I know you can see it more clearly spread out there. It grows in this very branching pattern where it splits, and then each split splits, and then it grows exponentially like a fractal. That is not something I was expecting. I mean, I know Rixia flutans, I had to look it up, because I know it's used commonly in aquariums, but you'll never find anybody selling it anymore. It's just something that's in aquarium books, because you can barely get the stuff. Rixia flutans is commonly known as crystal wort. It's a liverwort, and I had to look up where it's from. Apparently it's well known in Florida. This is upstate New York. This shouldn't really be here, but it is, which is an amazing discovery. This may be the first published report of this in New York State, and I'm pretty sure I identified it correctly. If not, I found something very peculiar. In addition, duckweed, duckweed is said not to occur naturally with Rixia flutans because they're competitors. However, it's here, so I'll allow that to continue. What else have I found? One, snails. There were just snails on the plant matter. Snails is a very complicated subject. I'm not a gastroenterologist, gastropodologist, gastropodologist. I don't study snails. These are little pond snail guys. They're little, they get about, about a half inch. They just sort of live in there. I have been feeding them for the past week or so little pieces of watermelon rind for them to eat, which has been exponentially increasing the growth of all life present, including shrimps. Unfortunately, I really don't have a mechanism by which I could show you what they look like, and they might not very much have light just getting poured out of that jar, but they needed an expansion in size. They're not shrimp in the sense of prawns, or like what you would think of with freshwater shrimp. They're some sort of copepod or ostracod, which are very tiny little fuzzy seed shrimp, which sort of just swim around. Less than a millimeter in length, but pretty obvious, especially in a curved vessel where you get magnification. Basically sea monkeys. You remember sea monkeys? They're not actually monkeys, they're brine shrimp. Sea monkeys are little powdered eggs that you can put in hypersaline water in like a plastic toy container and grow tiny shrimp. Triops are a vastly better option. I might do that in a later video. The problem with sea monkeys is they live in this very specific hypersaline water. This is fresh water. This is water you can get from anywhere. Well, not literally anywhere. I mean, if you're in the Sahara, you're going to have a hard time finding it. But there are all these tiny crustaceans living in this water. Basically, this is a free sea monkey kit. I mean, I don't know if there's anyone out there who is still interested in, like, sea monkeys. I'm definitely interested in sea monkeys, not the sea monkeys, because they're hard, but these sea monkeys, which I can currently see, you know, they're just swimming around and they're like, oh, hey, we have water to swim in now. And lots of rixia. They're present. They're swimming. They're doing stuff. So you can get this tiny little ecosystem of life just from pond water, and if you just feed it like little pieces of vegetable matter, it grows. There you go. It's in this bowl. I think that's pretty cool. It's a good first try. In the future, maybe I will be able to find some more interesting creatures. I may need to get a bigger pond. Sorry it's not more exciting than that. I mean, this is liverwort. How often do you find a liverwort? Like, that's incredibly exciting for me. Like, it's wild liverwort in upstate New York with tiny little shrimps living in it. Whew, I'm getting too excited. Liverwort is something that greatly pleases me. So, I'm going to let this go about what it's doing. I may go back in the future, but it's early August right now. So basically winter just started in New York, so I may not get another chance this year. But I will do something. X-Hero.